This meeting is now being recorded.
There we go. So, yeah, I mean, the site currently is in a portfolio with like 9 or some other sites. They're all on the Sitecore framework, a content management system. The benefit of this is, of course, we have our U.S. website, and with the U.S. website, we typically in the U.S. launch things first. So traditionally, adding products for regions like South Africa, UK, Canada has been fairly easy because it's been a copy and paste operation, with, of course, with the exception of unique products. So you don't see it here, but South Africa has attempted to launch. They've attempted to launch a line of fragrances, and it hasn't been going very well. I think they're currently using an agency, and I don't know if they bit off more than they could chew, but they're just the problem with the agency is that they don't have anyone who's certified in Sitecore. They've received the training just like you're receiving the training. There's a little bit of a learning curve. I don't know if the problem is that they don't have the right folks on the project. We've worked with MediaCom US before, and there were Sitecore certified folks on that team. So we hope that so for like the general content, it's fairly easy data entry, as you'll see. But for other stuff, like so that mistakes like this aren't made, where it's not supposed to have the square here. Again, these are all things that and mistakes that shouldn't be made if you follow the the tutorial. But we hope that you do have the ability to hire in some Sitecore certified developers, because from speaking with Ngu and the team, there were some creative requirements and asks that we were discussing about making, maybe possibly redesigning the way that the fragrance page looks, and yeah, like something like this, where the image doesn't load. This could be fixed with data entry. But do you have anyone on the team that would be able to develop a new templates in Sitecore?
Not currently. We would have to see what resources available in our market. Otherwise, I'd prefer to spend a little bit and upskill who we have internally as well.
All right. Yes, Sitecore has. Do you have any .NET developers?
No, not .NET. We're mainly working on sort of PHP side of things. But
right.
Again, once we actually understand, we've been on board and understand what the requirements are, then we can look. But at the same time, we also have to be cognizant of, what budget they have allocated to this, and it's really, really small, which wouldn't be feasible for us to actually employ a resource to manage this.
So, do they understand this?
Well, the problem is that at the beginning, it was really for maintenance. It wasn't for any new development. So we would have to look at developers also and according then after that we can resource.
Okay. All right. Well, so from a maintenance perspective, it's just a combination of I would say content entry, following instructions, uploading images, and for some of it, image editing. Again, I'm not sure the existing skill set of this new agency, but they just haven't been able to execute the brand's requests very well. Like, for example, this guy here is just like in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's no design consistency or any rules. And when you look at this thing, this one is down here. The size of the models aren't consistent. So there is the content management piece of it, but there's also, you're going to need to work with graphics resources to make sure that you're following in the the correct guidelines. I don't think they knew what they were doing from a design perspective.
Yeah, that won't be a problem.
Okay, good. All right, so I guess what we could do is we could start with a product page, since it's got the most parts to it. It's probably the most complicated. So if we look at something like Ultra HD matte lip color, we have see that they haven't even done this correctly. That's just, let's refresh the page. All right, so it consists of a couple of different parts. There's the top part, which has the product name. We refer to this as the franchise image. The franchise header is a fairly large image, and the reason that it's large is our site is mobilely responsive. So as we scale the screen size, let me catch my mouse here. There we go. As we scale the screen size, it gets bigger and bigger. So it's for new products and for like fragrances, you're going to need to put this together. I'm not sure if that previous team, put any headers together. Let's see. Let me just find a product that works. Yep, they didn't do this one. Okay, so yeah, this isn't correct what they did. There's a template, but you may be required to divide some of the images up, either make them smaller or splice them up. I think the product images are a pain point for South Africa. They didn't know what they were shooting, and they didn't know what the application was. So the team did spend most of their time actually doctoring the images to make them, to give them sort of a better quality. So this one is on transparent background, which is good. But this image, I could tell you, is not consistent. There's no line. Let me find it. So we have a Photoshop template for the header image. And there's kind of a rule of placement. So if we take a look at Ultra HD matte lip color, you see that there's a horizontal line, there's a reflection of the product, and then there's a product family shot. Like I said, we do have a template we can send you, but those fragrance images will probably all have to be redone to match this. Probably by you guys, because the contract is over by end of the month. So there's that. There's the second area. The second area contains description, features, contains the shades. These are hex values. The images on the left are actual images, and then the model shots that you see here. This comes externally. This comes externally from a vendor called Sitecore, and based on each shade and the UPC, there's a set of models that load. So it's very important to make sure that when you're putting in UPC codes, that you're very accurate, because the wrong UPC will have the product not rendering with the model not rendering. Then we have our campaign gallery, which usually has an image and a credit and cross-sells. So how does this actually get put together in Sitecore? So why don't we go take a look. So the first screen that you see when you log in is going to be this guy here. It's going to be the desktop and the content editor. South Africa, you're going to have to change your language and country to South Africa, which is in the drop down here. And by the way, all of this I am recording, so you could view this video later. Also, there are Sitecore courses available for power users that are virtual that I really recommend you guys take, and depending on what you're contracted for.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks. If you can send any links to that, that would be great as well.
Yep, we'll do. So,
thank you.
There's kind of a directory hierarchy, and we're looking under the second Revlon. So when you look, it's actually Revlon 2. So when we look, we're going to see products. We're going to look for products. There's a number of things in products that you'll see. There's a product labels, that's just a dictionary item. There are collections, so mascara collections, color stay, Charlie collection. There's categories, lips, eyes, face, nails, and there's other collections. The reason they're kind of in this format is just for sorting, so that if I want my mascara collection to be before lips, eyes, face, nails, it will be up top here. But I can go into more detail later on. So what I want to show you is Ultra HD matte lip color. And actually, yeah, so let's check it in. So we've got, let's close that out. So let's look at this field by field. So this top field says new shades. That's the brand name. The reason that you see new shades there is two reasons. One, this is new checkbox has been checked off. When it's checked and you publish the page, new products will appear here. So there's a new for section. In this case, it's lips. So new Revlon Ultra HD Matte Lip Color is up here because this checkbox was checked. And that's why it says new here. Typically, we sometimes have Revlon, like new Revlon, and then the product name here. Because this is a restage, where we're not really relaunching the product, but just relaunching some new shades, this is kind of a hack. So we have shades up here so that the first line could say new shades. So far, so good?
Yep.
All right. There's two product name fields. One is product name. The other is product name formatted. One quick note, these products have trademark marks on them. Some have the R, some have the TM. Either way, you're going to have to make sure that when you receive a brief for new product entry from the brand team, that they contain the correct marks. Sometimes when you copy and paste, by the way, the reason this is a split screen is it makes it easier when you know if you're working on a existing product from US, when you click so this is your initial view. When you click the translate, this drop down tells you that you're referencing English. So in this case, English US. If you wanted to reference like English Canada or something else, you could. So right now, we typically go from paste from right to left. Now, when we paste, so you can select Control C. When you paste here for the product name, you actually want to make sure that under View, you're in raw values. The reason for that is sometimes these TM marks, they get converted to HTML escape characters, and it looks all funky. So when we do this, we want raw values mode enabled. Control C, select this guy. Control V, save. Very simple. So that's the product name. Now, the reason that we have the product name formatted, sometimes the brands will come to us and say, we want HD matte and lip color on separate lines. The way that this website works, as I said, it's mobily responsive, so we don't have explicit break tags because that just wouldn't be good. But if they insist on having it on lines and they don't want the text to wrap naturally, what you would do is you would use this field, and then you could put in break tags anywhere you want. You know, Ultra HD, Matte, you can put a break tag here. And the site's logic is, if I have something populated in this field, I'm just going to use this for the product name and ignore whatever's in here. So had I saved and published this, it would appear here. And let's just see what that looks like. Everything that you enter, by the way, this is a shared environment, so we have multiple regions using it. In this case, we're looking at the South Africa specific version of this page. You don't get to see it on staging until you actually publish it. So when I go publish item, I'm going to select South Africa. You're probably only going to have the South Africa checkbox available based on your permissions. And I'm going to only publish it to preview. Again, you're not going to have these other checkboxes available to you because actual deployments to the live site get taken care of internally when you guys send me an email. So I'm going to publish right now, and when I refresh the page, we're going to see that the break tags actually took, which is good. So that's a good thing. All right. Product description that field refers to this guy here. Typically, product descriptions are a couple of sentences max. We don't like to have huge paragraphs there. So that's the consistency. The tagline is this guy here. So it looks like what they did is they just copied over the tagline and said lightweight, high definition, velvety matte color. So similar to product description, but it's actually this guy. The formatted product tagline is the same thing, the same idea as the product name formatted. If I want break tags, I'll use this field, I'll put in break tags, and this field will be ignored. Product description long refers to the features tab. It's also important to stay consistent here. So the bullet points that you see here, they're ASCII characters, so you can just copy and paste from here. And the line breaks are done via break tags as well. So far, so good? All right. Active, I already talked about. Oh, active, you want this to be set to true if you want the product to show up. So this will always be true. We're going to ignore the show add to cart button because that doesn't apply. We're going to also ignore the external CTA button because that's more advanced. Select shade label override. So by default, this will always say select a shade, but if you wanted to customize it to, say, select a glitter or whatever else, you can use this particular field. There's also a checkbox for is white background. We've launched one page that's on a white background, and that's the Kizbalm. So checking that will set this page to a white background, this specific section. I don't know if this page is part of a launch in South Africa. So that's what that is. Sorry, come again, you broke up. No, I'm sorry, still couldn't get that.
Saying we'll keep it in mind if it's a requirement.
Ah, okay. Okay, that I caught. So meta, that's if, so custom title is something that appears in the, in the title here. If you have specific SEO requirements, you can put in the keywords description and any miscellaneous tags that you need to go into the head area right over here. For US, we do a little Google Analytics and Facebook Analytics tracking. You obviously don't need that, but if you do have specific need, you can put that in here.
So,
all right. Yep.
With regards to the Google Analytics, is it something we set up on our own, or
Google Analytics is already set up.
Okay, so that's good to go then.
Yeah, so you don't have to do anything. It's already set up. So if you need access to it, let me know.
And
Sorry, I caught the every other word of that. Why don't we do this? If you can, there's a dial-in that provided.
Yeah.
I think the connection may be slightly better.
Cool. Let me dial in.
Great, thank you.
This one. Mm-hmm.
I just pasted a phone number into the chat in case you need it. Toll free in South Africa.
Welcome to the conferencing center. Please enter your passcode followed by the pound or hash key.
What is the
It's 212-527-4366.
527.
Please hold while I confirm your passcode. Thank you. Your passcode is confirmed. Please wait for the tone. Then say your name and press the pound or hash key.
Federico.
When you hear the tone, you will be the third person to join the meeting. This meeting is now being recorded. Joining the meeting.
There we go. All right. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Max, can you hear
Yep.
me?
So I'm going to mute your computer line.
Thank you.
Mute on.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. That's perfect. So what were you saying before? There was a question about after Google Analytics. You asked me something.
I was just asking about the Facebook Pixel.
You may want to mute your computer speakers.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find. Where is it?
Were you able to mute your computer speakers?
I'm trying to do it. I don't know if it's responding now.
Yes. Yeah, it should work.
Max? It should be fine
Yep.
now.
All right, much better.
Cool.
So I'm sorry, what were you asking?
Sorry, I was just asking about the Facebook Pixel. If that's
Okay.
also already installed. If we wanted to do custom audiences and retargeting and things like that.
So yeah, you could put a pixel. You could put a pixel in. It just I guess it would depend where you would need to put it in. I'm not 100% sure about the API. So
Facebook Pixel usually sits just below the body tag.
okay, yeah, I think that I think there should be one there, but if you need to drop it in, you could just email me and I'll put it in. There's Google Analytics, so General Analytics.
Okay, so for that, the access will just we'll send an email to give us access.
Yeah, or you could just put it in under here.
Okay, cool. Sorry, Max, also just with regards to your role, because we just kind of got introduced via email, when is it that we would just chat to you or reach out to you, or the sort of, what is our engagement with you?
You could definitely reach out with questions, but so as far as content entry and fixing what the previous agency did, that should be fairly self-service. As far as publishing things to staging, you can also do that yourself. When things are ready and you have tested them on staging and they look good to you, as well as the brand, the client, you can contact me with the items that need to be deployed to the live site. Hopefully, a couple of days' notice, and we'll schedule a deployment.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll set up just some timelines and processes with the client, just so that there's no, oh my God, we need to go live with this now type of thing. And also, make a rule that as much as possible we try not to publish anything on a Friday, so that we don't have to spend the weekend, God forbid, trying to fix anything that's gone wary.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Cool. Okay, we can move on.
All right, so where did we leave off? Okay, so search terms. So there's a site search where you can, do a search and it will give you like a auto suggest, Google style. Right now in the search, it takes into account product name, copy, and I believe category. So the reason that you have this field here is if you wanted this page to come up with like using alternative words that may not be either in the product name or description, you could put those words into this field, comma separated, and they would come up. These are we have some OG tags for Facebook sharing. The individual title description type, I'm not sure that they were implemented in the code, but you could put all your OG tags into this field, and it will show up on the page in the source. So far, so good?
Yep.
All right. So now dealing with the images. So that's the product hero image I told you about. I will send you guys a Photoshop template, but as you see here, it's a huge image. It's 31 by 98 by 1380. The image is kind of right aligned. and there's a horizontal line. The thumbnail image is what shows up on the category page. So it's this guy here. Product shot shows up in other parts of the page, but you can just copy from right to left here. If there are any, I don't think any other products have awards, so we'll skip that along with the benefits. And we don't need to worry about AdSense either for now. The one thing that you kind of need to do is there's a display name field. So the display name is so that it looks like, you know, it's a clean, friendly display in the content editor. So if the original item name had dashes, you would put a clean display name here with spaces instead of dashes. So that's the product. Now, getting in, so let's publish this to staging as well. All right. So now looking at, so expanding it, we have a couple of things going here. Actually, why don't we look at a simpler product? Oh, never mind. Let's continue. All right. So campaign gallery. Each product, if you wanted to have this campaign image, there's a campaign gallery that you add. In the heading, you put the makeup credit, and in the images, you upload, you select the image. Now, the way that this works is if it's already an existing image, you click Browse. We'll get an image dialog to come up. We'll click Browse. And I think we did a fair job organizing these images. So some of them are eyes, but as you'll see here, the file name's fairly consistent. So if we needed to select something, we could. If we needed to upload an image, we could click Upload, Browse, and upload the image if we wanted to. One thing to keep in mind is, again, all the content entry and images being uploaded, they are being uploaded to this content entry environment. So you won't see them on the staging site until you publish them. So this image we know is already published. One way to tell whether it's published or not is you'll see this, you may see this published status symbol here. If you click on it, so right now we're looking at this campaign gallery image. Preview, so English, South Africa, latest is published. So you know that we're looking at the latest and greatest. Then as far as image goes, we could do the same thing. Publish, status, and let's see, preview, South Africa, latest is published. So we're good. We're good to go. So far, so good?
Yeah, following along.
All right, great. Then we have cross-sells. Cross-sells are just references to existing products, so you don't need to put in anything in this field. You just right-click, and you can select. You just need to make sure that it's an active product, because if you're cross-selling something that has been discontinued, it won't show up. So fairly simple. Let's look at shades. So they're also called styles. So accuracy here is super crucial. So if we look at HD devotion, so the first field is shade name, self-explanatory. That's the name you see here. Next field is the shade value. So this is a hex value. For the most part, you'll just copy it over from the right-hand side, since the US already probably took care of that. If you don't have a shade value, you'd have to maybe take a picture of the image and determine what the RGB value is in Photoshop. Product name, you can just either leave blank or copy. We were at some point going to use this for indexing, but we don't use it currently. Active does need to be true, as with product. With UPC, as I said, this has to be accurately put in. Otherwise, it just won't work. So there's that. Let's see. We don't care about new display order type. You could just put in color. So let's look at shades layout. That's in the Revlon 2 group. And what exactly is shades layout? So we have products that are have more than one shade per SKU. So what does that actually mean in English? So if we go to something like eyes, if we look at an eyeshadow, there's 4 different shades here, and not surprising that they didn't get these shade names, the shade colors correct. Let's look at a better example. Let's look at US, because we know that one's correct. Let's give it a sec to load. All right, so looking at something like this, there's 4 different shades. The way that it actually looks, wow, so much mess to clean up. You guys definitely have some work ahead of you. So if we look at Decadent, well, first of all, you'll see that the shade hex values are separated by comma. The way that they're displayed is it's a grid layout. There's also a vertical grid, horizontal, and vertical. So if we had set this to horizontal, here's what we would see. Let's publish the item. And again, this is just key as far as multi-shaded products go. So we just set to horizontal, and now we see 4 lines going horizontally. If we set it to vertical and save, we'll publish it, we'll refresh, and we'll see that they're now vertical. And then I think vertical grid, I think that applies to shades where there's like 6 or more. Well, let's see what exactly that is. That vertical grid, it makes them a little smaller so that you can fit more shades in here. So by default, quads use, we call that a quad because there are 4 shades. That will be a grid. There are also shade groups that you can have. So I think we use that in nail. And let's, I know we were just looking at Ultra HD Matte, and I think US. So shade groups are a way for you to group shades, something that we're currently adding for US. Let's look at the US staging site. Products. Product lips. Not sure. So yeah, new metallic finish. So these are, as you see here, these shades are actually separate from these below. The way that that's done is the team created a group called New Metallic Finish. They put a label on it, and the shades are still here, right? But the only difference is, so let's see, HD Dazzle. Let's look at Dazzle. Dazzle, Dazzle, Dazzle. So HD Dazzle is included in this group here. And the way that you select it is you click on it, you move it to the right-hand side. This include in general checkbox is not checked. Had it been checked, these shades would also appear in this group here. But because they want to highlight it, they have it up here. So far, so good.
All good. Quick question.
Yep.
When you were looking at the was it the blush or the mascara? No, not mascara. The blush. The other powder product.
Yeah, the eyeshadow.
Yeah. So when you have the shade, where does the product image pull through from?
Excellent question. So most of these images have already been uploaded. The reason that I mentioned that it's super key to make sure that your UPCs are correct is if you open up, let me make this smaller. So if you go into the media library, you go into Images, Revlon 2, there's a folder called Product Shade Images.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a ton of images in them. And so what you'll want to do is you'll want to upload. So if you have unique product, the idea is that you take you name the image in the UPC format, and then you upload it and publish it here. And so,
okay, so
that's where.
The name.
Yeah. Yeah, very simple, nothing to map. And then
Right.
as far as these guys, the models go, it's also based on UPC, but those images get loaded in. They get loaded in dynamically from a third-party service, so there's nothing for you to do here.
Awesome.
All right. Okay. So that's the product page in a nutshell. We also have any questions on the product page?
Just the dividers, those line dividers between the sections, is that also just built in?
Yeah, that's built in.
Okay, cool. And the share buttons?
The shade button? I'm sorry?
The share. So share to Facebook, share to
yes. Currently, this will just let you share it on your own social media network.
Okay,
so,
cool. And if we needed to add another network for whatever reason, or another platform?
You could. You just need to. It would. I think it requires some coding to get the right pop-up up. Again, this is not Revlon South Africa's specific networks. These are networks that allow you to share it to your specific profile. So the only network that probably isn't here is Google Plus. But do you have other social networks in mind?
Sorry, I'm just trying to see. Looking on the overhead projector, it's not as clear. So I can see it's Facebook. Not the last.
Because there is a place for you to advertise all of South Africa's digital properties in the footer.
Yeah, Google Plus. Okay. You need that one. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, we can go. Thanks, mate.
Okay. All right. So each, let's see, if we go to products, let's look at the. Well, why don't we look at fragrance, because you guys are going to be tasked with cleaning that up. Let's see what they did. So as far as fragrance goes, if we look at this guy, Charlie Gold, there shouldn't be a select a shade, because this is not a shaded product. So let's look at fragrances. Looks like they forgot to add a horizontal line. I don't know if the brand is okay with that. You're going to have to check with them. Looks like there is a cross-sell, which is good. They did something right. Let's look at select a shade. So we're going to go to fragrances. They need to clean all this up, because they were just duplicating things without rhyme or reason. So let's see, we were looking at all female fragrances, Charlie Gold ETD spray. We should be looking at South African version. This is the first screen that you'll see. It will ask you to check to lock and edit, which is like a checkout. Then when you're done with it, you can check it back in. So this is what it will look like. And then when you're ready to check it in, you just check it in. I should, here, 1 second. When you're adding products that don't exist yet, you'll also see this, add a version. So when you click it, it brings you like the brand new form that you can fill out for the product. So looking at this guy, she still has it checked out. Lovely. There's no tagline on it. So let's look at select a shade. This is wrong. So we have stuff like beauty tools, fragrances that are not supposed to have. They're not supposed to have shades. So there's a specific way to ensure that the shades don't show up. Let me just make sure. Why did she add this one here? Yeah, I'm going to delete it. All right, so looking at styles, when you create the shades, when you create any style, you're going to want to insert. You're going to say shades. The name of the style is going to be the UPC, and you're going to want to make sure that that's correct. So let's look at this guy. She didn't do this correctly, so we're going to change the UPC. So in this case, there are 3 places that require N/A. for it to be recognized as a non-shaded product. It's got to go in the shade name, it's got to go in the display name, and in the shade hex value, and it's got to go into the display name. And she didn't do that. So we're going to save it. So we have in 3 places. Again, super important for the UPC to be correct here. And when you're creating it, we're going to check it in. We're going to publish it. And the same rule holds for beauty tools, or really any products that don't require a shade. Let's see if that fixes it.
Max, quick one. Does the UPC change across markets?
In very few cases. I don't know where they got this UPC from. I'm not sure if she was just mindlessly duplicating things or what. 90% of the time, it stays the same. If it doesn't look like it's the same, it's probably because it has a leading 0 and it shouldn't. So there, we just fixed their product page for fragrances. So that's fragrance. Let me see if they have collections. Hair color and care. So they added shampoos. Oh God, I haven't even looked at this. I'm afraid to look. Yeah, you're gonna have to clean this up as well. It doesn't look like they did anything here. So it still says select a shade. The product does not have a reflection, so it's all kinds of wrong here. There's no copy, so that needs some cleanup. What I wanted to show you guys, so it looks like we have 30 minutes left, is the concept of collections. So a collection can be, a collection is just exactly as it sounds. It's a collection of products grouped together. A collection can have products from multiple categories. So like Color Stay can have a collection, it can have a combination of nail products, lip products, eye products, what have you. But let's look at how it's actually formed over here. So we have an Ultra HD collection, and that's within the lips section. So let us go over here. We're going to go to lips, Ultra HD collection. So a collection page, I believe, also has a header image. Where is it? Ultra. Oh, okay. Not here. It's a separate page. I'll show you in a sec. So, real simple to just add products into the collection. You can right-click and you insert. There should be a product pointer, and then most of them are already going to be versioned from the U.S. So if you just need to select the product, you go here. If by the way, if the brand asks you to discontinue something, there's a specific way to do that, and I'll show you that. That's important to know. So in Publish, there's a Restrictions tab. There's a Change button. So if you needed to remove, let's say, Ultra HD Matte from the website, you do it typically in 3 places. So the first place you do it is the actual product level, where we would go here, we would click Change Restrictions, and this is very important, on the versions, not the items or targets. Under versions, the way that there's 2 ways to do it. You could just uncheck it. What I like to do is I actually like to put yesterday's date here. That way I know that I did it and it wasn't just an error of someone going in and unchecking it. So if I put a previous date in the past, it tells me that I intentionally wanted to remove that product. So if I click OK, I'm going to get a message. If you publish now, the selected version will not be visible. So if I go publish, it's going to it's going to be removed from the site, which is exactly what I want. Now, so there's area number 1. Area number 2, you also want to remove it from the collections. And you would do the same thing, change restrictions. So this is the collections. One thing you'll notice here is there's a label that says View All Ultra HD Products. So the place to put that text in is when you go Insert Link, is actually in the link description. So you will select, you'll go down the tree. Let me just show you. I know I'm jumping around, and I apologize for that. But each category has its own landing section. So on the libs page where we just were, this is just a gateway. This just shows you these are the products in the Ultra HD collection that have to do with lips. But if you want to view all of the products, you click here and you get taken to the Ultra HD collection tab. And it will have all HD products. So if we look at, I don't know, let's look at, where's Color Stay? They don't even have that. Wow. Oh, here, Color Stay. If we look at Color Stay, we'll see that there's actually eye products, face products, nail products, what I was talking about. So that general landing page, you'll see, let's go Ultra HD. So that's here. This page has that franchise hero image that I showed you. It's got a brand name, heading name, and more importantly, underneath, it's got all the products. So if I needed to delete that one product, which you guys don't have in this selection, I would do, this is the third and last place I would do it. I would uncheck it, put yesterday's date on, and hit publish. The reason that you should know about collections is the agency that's previously working on this, they tried to do something with it. I don't know if they were successful or not, but that's where you'll find it. It's these maroon colored icons. So that's collections. Any questions?
Not on that specifically.
I think though this will become slightly more self-explanatory as you guys actually start to play around with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that different from some of the other sort of CMSs that we've worked with. Of course, each one's got its own, but I mean the idea behind it.
Exactly. That's a good point. This isn't going to. I don't think you're going to have too much of a learning curve with Sitecore because Sitecore itself is easy. It's the same concept of checking stuff in, checking stuff out, publishing. So I'm glad that you guys recognize that right away. Really, the only thing to learn is really the taxonomy and the law of the land as far as how what the relationships are between products and shades, what the views are as far as where does this item go, and once you kind of traverse through the tree, things will seem very easy. The last thing I wanted to show you is the home page. So in the spirit of modularity, the home page is also kind of divided into parts. Of course, the reason we wanted to do that is reusability and flexibility. So at the cost of a couple of mouse clicks and jumping around to different areas, we're able to reuse some of the components and just introduce flexibility. And I'll show you that as an example. What are we looking at? All right. So homepage carousels. So the actual the display of homepage carousels is here under Home section. Here we have Mascara Collection, Choose Love Stories, Choose Love, and Lasting Love, which corresponds to this. I could tell you that South Africa has probably a high urgency of needing to remove Olivia, her contract expired in January, and because the previous agency was kind of taking their time, they're really behind, and right now at a legal risk of still having her up here because her contract is no longer valid. So that will probably be one of the first things that you do, depending on what their priorities are. So four carousels. Now the question is, where do these actually come from? So if we go under resources, we'll find a nice little treasure trove of things. The first, the one that you'll actually need is home. So home is divided into three parts: buttons, carousels, and modal carousels. Modal carousels so a modal carousel is a carousel within a carousel, if that makes sense. That's just a pop-up. These don't have them because their buttons go straight to the page, some page. This Lasting Love carousel, if you click Watch Now, it pops up with these other videos. So this, by definition, is referred to as a modal. And I'll show you what that translates to in terms of Sitecore in a sec. Why don't we take a look at the first one? So Mascara Collection. So we're going to go into carousels, home carousel. Let's look at Mascara Collection. All right. So the title, I don't think it goes anywhere. It's just a title field. It doesn't show up on the page, but you'll want to make sure it's readable. Let me check her stuff in. Main content is kind of, so it's rich text. So you see the logo here. So there's a little bit of HTML behind the scenes. To view and to create your own HTML, you click Show Editor. I'm going to put you on speaker because my headset's dying. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So we don't see anything here, but if we take a look under the hood and click HTML, you'll actually see HTML here. And it's all like reusable stuff that you can use. In this case, we have the Revlon logo, which you can copy and paste, and that's here. If you had to reuse it from the U.S., again, the easiest way to do it would be clicking Raw Values, which shows you exactly what's under the hood right away, and just Control-C, Control-V. Simple as that. So that's the main content. The bottom image is optional, and it's used if you wanted to feature like a thumbnail of a product. One thing that's very important is this image needs to be transparent. The reason that it needs to be transparent is it overlays on top on mobile. Right now, so back up. Come on. There we go. So they didn't do it. So as a result, it's got this ugly black background, which sits right on top of the background image, which isn't really necessary. So if the brand does request some sort of a bottom image there, just make sure that it fits. You'll see what the dimensions are here. So make sure it fits the dimensions and it's transparent. The background. So I don't think they did this correctly. Let me go to a different one. Let's see, what's a good example? Maybe this one. There we go. Okay, so there are two types of images that you want on the carousel. There's a super wide image and there's a mobile image. The super wide image, the specs for those are here, 25, 60 by 600. Now the key to this guy is that because there's text and content on the left side of it, you kind of want the area to be either black or abstract, where you won't care if there's text on top of it, and it won't be a distraction to the consumer. So if I have this mosaic of pictures, perfectly good with having that there. If you can't furnish an image that has that, then the rule of thumb is just make it black on the left side, like the 50% margin, and what follows to the left. On the right side, again, if you don't have an image to fill all 1280 pixels on the right, you could do a soft gradient to like a fade to black, which is seen here. On mobile, so that's desktop. You don't have to worry about desktop HD or mobile HD. That was when we were considering Retina, but most of the images that we upload are Retina quality anyway, so this is blank. Mobile, the restrictions and specs there are slightly easier to manage. It's just a 1244 by 1475 image. Again, for most of the US stuff that's already been created, it's just a copy and paste exercise for you. So nothing to worry about. This is just where you have to create new products, new slides. Thumbnail image, same thing here. It's an image 224 by 124. 220 by 124. And then there's thumbnail text. The thumbnail text does support break tags. So if you needed to have stories on the next line, there's a good chance that there's a break tag after love. Or not. I mean, as I said, naturally they wrap. The break tags can be used only where the brand doesn't like the way that it wraps. If you do have to create your own thumbnails, keep in mind that the text is white. So generally, when you know that it's going to be somewhere in like the vertical middle, one thing that I've seen agencies do is kind of create a little gray blur to make the text pop a little bit more, so that it doesn't bleed into the background. And then throughout the site, especially in carousels, you'll see this Google Analytics event, which is very handy. So it's three things separated by a vertical bar. And what this does is when we launched this, we wanted to have really good visibility into what people were clicking on. Because we were launching these long pages, the site is vertically scalable, where people scroll. We wanted to get a sense whether people were interacting with the site or not. So if this is filled out for you guys, if you fill this out, then under Events, under Google Analytics, you will see these register if the person clicks on it. And that's, okay, so buttons. The buttons are in a separate area. The reason that we wanted to have them in a separate area is A, reusability, B, what happens if we want, more than one button. So when we go into, let's go back to Mascara Collection, South Africa. Mascara Collection, South Africa, where are you? There you are. All right. So there's buttons. You can select the button from here. So Home, Buttons, Button, Home Carousel, Mascara Selection. There it is. I'll click on it, and I'll click this right arrow. Let's look at what it actually looks like. So here's the Mascara Collection button. Very simple. All it has is text. It's got a link, and the way that you use that link is you just go down the tree and you just select whatever link you want, where you want to link, and you click OK. Simple as that, nothing else to do. Google Analytics event, same idea. You want trackability, you'll put, I think it's the page, the action and the event, or something like that. So that, in a nutshell, is the homepage carousel. I don't think you'll have to do anything with modal carousels. This is, I think, yeah, this is Australia. So nothing for you to worry about there, at least in your first phase and in your first SOW. Any questions?
No, that's all good. All looking good.
Right.
Just to be clear on the button side though, I see where you've added the links and everything, but the actual button on the page, was that in the page
Yes.
itself?
So that would be in the carousel. I'll go to Mascara Collection. There's a buttons list. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll go Home, Buttons, Home Carousel, and I will add Mascara Collection button here. In this case, it'll tell me you cannot select the same item twice. If I wanted to add a different button, I can have more than one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we haven't had the need to do that in a while.
That's cool. Okay. Max, before you scoot off, on the Mitchum side of things, I'm sure you saw the email from Fatima where she's under pressure.
Yeah.
What's the process there?
I don't. So this isn't on Sitecore. We have a Mitchum UK site, which is just a version of the Mitchum US site. We do have a process, but what is the progress? Is there a scope defined? Are there requirements? Do they want it to look like?
Yeah, so they have very sort of a tiny budget, so they're looking to leverage, the templates or a website from one of the other markets, and perhaps we can ask Fatima with regards to the one which is more closely aligned to her requirements. I've provided her with a briefing template so that we can also get a little bit more information. But yeah, just purely my understanding is that she's looking to leverage one of the global sites, and then for us to implement in our market. So, do you know what kind of is it a WordPress? Is it a custom theme? Do you have any idea what the back end driving this is?
Yeah, the back end is this is in Sitecore as well. So this we were able to leverage some of the sections for UK with fair ease, I would say. So the caveat is it has to be closely to this design. This design isn't the best design out there. Like, this page doesn't lend itself to SEO because it's just a single page. There's, we definitely heard complaints and received criticisms. Of course, we didn't do the design ourselves. The Mitchum team went and contracted some designer in Spain to do it, and we're very adamant about using their design. If the team is good with leveraging this, and it follows the same format, and they have similar products, there's very little code to actually be touched here. And I think, as long as they have, there's a video section. So as long as they follow this format, I think that they can manage within the current budget. Again, provided we don't have to redesign anything, and provided they're fine with this format.
So I think what will probably happen is we'll actually sort of scale down what they have on these global sites rather than adding anything, which I think is always easier. Yeah. The other thing is, okay, so what I will do is I will just drive this conversation with Fatima and just say that, you know, we've spoken, this is the situation, and this is what's available to her, you know, which one does she want us to sort of move forward with.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what is the process with regards to other sites that they maybe want to run, you know, for a short campaign period or something like that? You know, like a microsite. Are we able to register a local domain for them and run it off a site here, or does everything have to run off your servers? What does that look like?
So in the past, we of course prefer things to run on our servers because we can save the brands lots of money in hosting. We actually hosted an app for them, but the way that it needs to be done, I think we had a microsite for Mitcham actually for South Africa, but it needs to be done in it's on Windows Server. So if it's not static and it's dynamic, it's got to be done .NET with a SQL backend. If it's like a content-only one-time microsite, we're not going to force you guys to put it in Sitecore because it doesn't make sense based on the effort required versus the time that it will actually be live.
Yeah.
As far as domains, those have to be procured. There's a strict policy on domains. We can purchase them, but it has to be purchased by us. So if you or Fatima emails domains@revlon.com with the domain that she wants to purchase, they'll go ahead and they'll secure that purchase for her.
Okay, cool. And then is it just like a cross charge?
No, we don't charge back for that. It's they swallow the cost. Legal owns all domains.
Domains with Revlon.net.
Okay. So, with regards to you guys hosting, you said it has to be a Windows sort of. So we can't run any PHP or WordPress or anything like that.
If there was, you'd have to show us if there's a benefit to doing it in WordPress. The benefit would have to, and the cost savings of doing it in WordPress versus something else would have to outweigh the cost that they would have to invest in hosting it.
Yeah, it's just more also like a speed and agility sort of thing from our side.
Yeah, and plus, if we're not using PHP, we'll probably be using just HTML and CSS. Nothing hectic.
Depends on the scope.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool, Max. I might have to touch base with you just on this other microsite because they're launching that other male deodorant spray 24/7 soon.
Okay.
And I think on that also, just from a timing perspective, we might get to a point where it's quite tight. I haven't seen the scope, so I'm not really sure what the best